Hey guys, this is Frank from Altcoin Buzz, and of course I'm always excited about crypto, but I understand that it's harder to be excited about crypto when it's crashing like it is today. But really what I want to do in today's video is to try and give you guys some peace of mind, to instill a sense of level-headedness and to look at things from two perspectives. One, from an analytical perspective, from where we will likely find support on Bitcoin. We're going to have a look at Bitcoin supports, which I think are the three major support zones. We're going to look at how strong Ethereum actually still is compared to Bitcoin. We're also, of course, going to look at the S&P 500 to see what the previous dumps have meant for Bitcoin, what the pumps have meant for Bitcoin, and what this recent move down for the S&P 500 could mean for Bitcoin. We're going to have a look at gold and see how actually very strong that is despite some small recent pullbacks. But the other thing which I just want you guys to remember is why you're in this space. If you enjoy this content and want to see more of it, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification button, as it really helps to support the channel. Before I get started, I just want to let you know that I am not a financial advisor and that trading and investing presents financial risks. Our CEO, Shash from Altcoin Buzz, more of a lead researcher really. He's really just looking into all these projects, really trying to understand things, a real OG in crypto. He's made mistakes like all of us, but he really doesn't think too much about the price and he doesn't, overanalyze it. It's kind of the opposite of me in a lot of ways. He's really in it for the fundamentals. That being said, he said something very interesting in this video. He said, this is an interview, by the way, with Crypto Tips. It's also a great YouTube channel. They've been around for a while and a great place to learn about crypto. And he said, if you don't believe that Bitcoin is going to hit 100,000, 200,000, if you don't think that Ethereum is going to reach 5,000 or more, why are you in this space? You shouldn't be in this space. Like, we are in this space because we believe this is a revolutionary technology, not because we think, Bitcoin will get to 50K and then, we're going to sell and never look at it again. I mean, of course, we do want to try and time the tops to some extent. We definitely want to exercise proper portfolio management, but really investing in crypto kind of goes much more beyond simple risk management. Like, to a large extent, you have to just believe, like, you can do analyses to see where Bitcoin might go in the short to medium term, but in the long term, it's extremely hard to give a sort of well thought out prediction for where Bitcoin will be. The only thing you basically know or feel based on your intuition, and of course some analysis, is that it's gonna moon like crazy. So yesterday I made this video, Ethereum to $5,000, bull run is just getting started. And of course it sucks that we crashed since then. And I certainly lost some money on that call. And of course my whole portfolio is in crypto right now. I don't have a short hedge yet. I did have it before for Ethereum, but unfortunately I stopped out of it. And this is also just goes to show you're gonna make mistakes in the market. No one knows where everything's gonna go, even in the short term, medium term. So really what it comes down to is if Bitcoin and Ethereum are crashing and you're seeing all these headlines, Bitcoin is going to fall even further. So I looked for Bitcoin today, and in the YouTube videos, it's like Bitcoin price falls past 12K. Is the worst Bitcoin crash imminent? This is why Bitcoin is dumping. Is 10,000 still safe? Major sell-off. It's happening. Bitcoin is falling. These are headlines which, I mean, it's fair enough. You want to have like a consistent story, right? And the problem is that with Bitcoin, it's very volatile. And the real consistent story is that long term, the bull run is just getting started, all right? Despite this crash, the bull run is definitely just getting started. Even if Bitcoin goes to 100,000, the bull run is just, even if it goes to 1 million, I mean, if you think about everything that crypto is trying to achieve, it's really trying to replace the traditional fiat system as we know it. And even if it doesn't fully replace it, even if it just takes the market cap of gold, it's already going to be a massive, massive pump from here. And it only makes sense. Bitcoin is so superior to gold in every way. It's just a matter of the world waking up to it. Of course, it's also a matter of Lightning Network, of Ethereum 2.0. There's so many things to be very bullish about in crypto. So we are going to do an analysis today to see where Bitcoin might come down to, or if it will find support here. But really, the more important thing is that you ask yourself, why are you in crypto? And do you believe that Bitcoin will go to 100K? Because if you don't, then yeah, you should probably learn more about the fundamentals before looking at just a basic analysis video like this, all right? Okay, so first of all, for Bitcoin, of course, we had this very important line, which yesterday I was saying was potential support. Now, of course, it's very much become resistance, and this is the previous weekly closes, which we saw back in March 2018. We saw a close in July 2019, in August 2019, and now, unfortunately, we have only 3 days left for this week. Extremely unlikely that we get all the way back up to 11,700 within these 2 days, especially since we also had another notable support break, which was the $11,100 level, which I mentioned before. So now, unfortunately, that will be the first level of resistance on the way back up. Now, that being said, we have just touched on a very critical zone, this blue box over here, which is between the sort of 10,100 and the $9,800 level. Now, why is that? It's because it's the previous highs, okay? So really, we had a potential for bouncing off the 10,000 sort of $500 level. That hasn't really happened yet. So that was the previous highs of these 3 candles over here. So now the zone becomes more sort of obscure. It's harder to see exactly where it is. We, of course, have a previous weekly close at $10,200, and we have several weekly closes over here. Actually, this zone should be a bit further down over here. And we have several weekly closes at 9,700 and 9,800. So really this 9,700, even a little bit lower, 9,675 to $10,100 zone is the first major support. Now, hopefully we will bounce from here. And this, of course, would align with the 21 EMA, which would maintain the sort of bullishness of this trend. Now, if we break that, the next level of support is unfortunately a little bit more vague even, but it would generally be within this zone. So in other words, the previous weekly opens and closes at the $9,100 level and the previous weekly opens and closes at the $8,700 level. So anywhere within this zone. Now, of course, if we break below 9,100, especially if we close below it, that's going to be really not that great because it means that we would break the weekly uptrend. Now, I have a support zone all the way down here, and the reason I have this all the way down here, and the reason I'm going to even talk about it, is that you really have to be prepared for anything, all right, guys? I've been in crypto since 2017. I've seen my portfolio halven in 1 month, all right? So I literally lost more than 50% of my whole portfolio in 1 month. I lost 65% of my portfolio in the whole dump from, 2017 all the way to 2018. And, fortunately, of course, I made a lot of money on the bull run in 2017. So despite having lost such a significant amount, I'm still significantly up. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you're not going to lose significant percentages of your portfolio, you're not going to make a large amount of money. Like if you're over hedging your portfolio, if you're not investing enough, if you're just putting tiny amounts, okay, you'll hedge against, the sort of whole economy crashing. If you just have 1 to 5% in Bitcoin, that's kind of the smartest thing to do. But if you really believe in this space, like I do, like, we at Altcoin Buzz do, and you're investing sort of larger percentages of your net worth, then the fact of the matter is that you are going to have, 20 to 50 to 60 even percent drops in your portfolio value. So basically the way I see it is that, if we really do close below sort of 9,100, then the next major level of support is down here at 7,000 down to 6,000. And the thing is that 6,000 is a level that would represent a 50% dump from the top, pretty much about 50%, okay? And the reason why I have this as a potential support, well, first of all, if I had to guess a probability that we'll get down to 6,000, I think it's pretty unlikely, but let's be honest, it has to be something between, 5 and 10%. It's not impossible. And the reason for that is, well, the previous time that we had a dump, which was in March here, in February 2020, we had these 5 weeks of red pretty much where we actually dropped even more, 61%. So honestly, we could even come down further than that. But again, the point is that you have to be ready for this, guys. Like, I don't think it's likely, but if it comes down to 6,000, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I had no idea this could happen. What am I going to do now? Am I going to sell? Like, I'm definitely not going to sell. And like, you have to ask yourself, if you got like $10,000 in your crypto portfolio, you have to ask yourself, what will you do if that 10,000 turns into 4,000 in 5 weeks? Are you going to sell? If you are, take some risk off the table. You're definitely over leveraged. You have too much exposure to Bitcoin. If my portfolio drops by 50, 60%, I'm only going to be trying to enter, leverage positions to capitalize on the way up, because I believe in this long term. So really ask yourself what you believe in, why you're in this space, all right? Now in terms of the DXY, which of course is the US dollar currency index, we talked about this, Matty talked about this in a video yesterday, where he said the US dollar could be in a decade-long decline, analysts say. So the interesting thing is that this might sound bearish, but if you look at this chart, I'm going to show you why that might actually be very bullish for Bitcoin. So have a look at this chart. First of all, the blue boxes represent the bull markets for the DXY or the dollar index, and the red zones represent the bear markets, and of course the yellow zone just represents going sideways. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click compare over here, and we're going to add Bitcoin USD. Take the Bitfinex chart. Now what you want to do is you want to zoom in so that you can actually compare the two. And now what I did is I clicked log so that we can actually compare these two, otherwise it gets very skewed. So have a look at this. Remember, the blue zone is the bull market for the US dollar. So at that time, Bitcoin fell from $630 all the way down to $200 for a 68% dump. So while the dollar was booming, Bitcoin was dumping, all right? While the dollar went sideways, in fact, Bitcoin pumped a lot, right? Bitcoin went up 400%. So now look what happened when the dollar was dumping. So when the dollar dumped, in the red zone over here, remember this red box is when there was a bear market for the DXY, Bitcoin went on a massive 2,000% rally. Now, interestingly enough, this rally ended pretty much at the same time when the dollar started moving up again, all right? So from this time, pretty much over here, when it was 10,000, we came down a lot. We actually recovered a lot. So even by the end of the time of this boom for the dollar, and when I say boom, I just mean the uptrend, Bitcoin actually, it came down a lot and it went up and it pretty much stayed at the same level. So, and then now look at this. We had a dump for the dollar ever since March, and what happened? Bitcoin has been on a massive rise. So the conclusion here is quite simple. The only time that is bad for Bitcoin is when the dollar is booming, right? And it's not a surprise. I mean, traditional fiat is basically the biggest competitor for Bitcoin, and it only makes sense that if traditional fiat is failing, that Bitcoin will be pumping, all right? We saw this between sort of 2017, February 2017 and February 2018. DXY was dumping, Bitcoin was pumping. We've seen this since March. DXY is dumping, Bitcoin is pumping. So, the fact that the DXY is going down now is actually good for Bitcoin. And interestingly enough, even when the DXY is stable in this yellow box here, Bitcoin is still going up. So overall, I think it's very bullish for Bitcoin. The only thing is, like, if the DXY starts recovering, which is unlikely, as we mentioned, as Matty mentioned in this video, it's quite possible we go in a decade-long decline. What do you think that means for Bitcoin? If the DXY goes for decades, of a red box like this. I mean, historically, those red boxes have been very, very good for Bitcoin. And if it just goes sideways, it's also been very good for Bitcoin. So that's a great sign if you ask me. Now, another great sign for me is gold. So I saw in the headlines, oh, gold is dumping, that's why Bitcoin is dumping. I'm like, really? I mean, look at this weekly chart. It's just a massive bull run. We've had a small correction over here. We are nowhere close to breaking this bull run on gold. We have a potential support literally at the area at which we are at right now, very similar to Bitcoin, That's why there is a possibility that the $10,000 level holds. But if it doesn't hold for gold, then the next major level of potential support will be this previous triple top resistance at the 1,800, and that would have gold falling by another, 6%. So, maybe that would be the equivalent of, Bitcoin breaking the $10,000 level and falling down to sort of the $9,000 level, which would be, about a 10% dump, which is expected because Bitcoin is more volatile than gold. And even then, we're still bullish on Bitcoin. So that's why I view the two sort of major support levels at the $10,000 and the $9,000 level. And then below that, it's going to suck because, we're going to go potentially quite a bit lower down to the 6,000 level. But, right now, I think that's more unlikely than not. It's just important to be prepared for it if it does happen. Now, of course, what is most concerning is the SPX. So again, here, similar to the DXY or the dollar index, US dollar index, I've drawn these red boxes to denote the bear markets, the blue boxes to denote the bull markets, red in bear and blue in bull. So again, let's compare this to Bitcoin. So first of all, let's go to the SPX dump back in September 2018 when Bitcoin was at, well, it doesn't show the price here. Let's go to log. Yeah, now we can see the price. when Bitcoin was at 6,500, Bitcoin fell heavily, all right? It fell 50% during this dump. And then during the next dump, the next red box, Bitcoin also fell heavily, guys, all right? It fell 50%. And of course, during the moves up, Bitcoin, moved up. And so it moved up here from 3,500 to 14,000 while S&P was going up. And it also has moved up here while S&P is going up. So the fact of the matter is that there is definitely a big correlation between the S&P 500 and Bitcoin. And it's notable that, if the dollar is falling, if people are losing faith, if we really do have a massive financial collapse and we enter a depression, I'm still going to be in Bitcoin, but I would expect to see some pretty massive dumps. So the fact of the matter is that this weekly candle right now, which is going to close in just 18 hours, looks pretty bearish. This is known as a shooting star bearish candle. As you can see from here, you have a red body and you have a wick going up. So that's what we're seeing right now for the S&P 500. And this does often denote the end of a bull trend. But, we would need more confirmation than that. But the unfortunate thing is that, we have quite a lot of space to fall for the S&P 500. I mean, even if the S&P 500 just falls 10% or 15%, I mean, if we look at these previous dumps, Bitcoin fell 50% for this dump when the S&P fell just 20%, all right? That's 2.5 times the loss. Bitcoin fell 60% here when the S&P fell 35%. So that's almost 2 times the loss. So what I'm saying is that, if the S&P 500 does do even just a 15%, that would be a 30% dump on Bitcoin, all right? That would take us down to, well, it would take us down to 8,000 from this level. So the point is that the S&P 500 is definitely correlated with Bitcoin in terms of, the moves up and the moves down, certainly. So, if the S&P 500 crashes, which is not impossible given, the coronavirus situation in the world, it's not getting better. We don't have a vaccine yet. So this is definitely concerning, but the thing is, what's so interesting about this is the bounce back. So let's again look at Bitcoin. So have a look at this previous move up. The S&P 500 recovered from its dump and it went just slightly above its previous high, all right? Whereas Bitcoin, not only did it recover from its dump, but it went sort of quite significantly above its previous high, which was the 10,300, and we went all the way up to 12,000 almost, all right? So that shows that not only did Bitcoin recover, but it actually outperformed the S&P 500 when it did. And let's have a look what happened here. So here, the S&P 500 dumped, it went from 6,500 down to 3,000. And when Bitcoin recovered, okay, it did dump harder than the S&P 500, but when it recovered much more significantly than the S&P 500 did. It made a much bigger move. We had a 260% move over here. And the S&P 500 had just a 50% move. So the fact of the matter is that yes, Bitcoin is more volatile. Yes, it's correlated to the stock market. Yes, it's scary if the stock market dumps. But when it retraces, when it comes back, when it bounces back, Bitcoin will come back with a vengeance. And, it will really overtake these assets. So that's why, don't sell if we're going down. Just make sure you're comfortable with losing whatever it is that you've put in. But just be aware that, Bitcoin is not going anywhere, and it's likely going to bounce back really hard, even if we have a big dump from here. Hey guys, so as you know, sponsors help cover the research costs and all the costs associated with running this channel. So here's a quick message from our sponsor, AAX. What we're going to do is we're going to go on their exchange, and we're going to use the long and short feature here. So if you want to long here, you just click the long button here. And before you do that, you want to look at how much leverage you're using, all right? So I'm using a very responsible amount of leverage here. So you can see it changes the leverage if you change it. And this is 2x leverage. If I click long for a market order, then of course it will immediately execute that long. 10 contracts here is equal to $10. And after I click this, it'll come up with this window. It'll tell me that I'm trading Bitcoin, that the order is a market type, which means that it will get executed immediately. 10 contracts, which is worth about $10. This is the order value in Bitcoin, the amount of leverage which I'm using, which of course is very important. As you can see, low leverage is very low risk, so the risk level is very low. And this, of course, is the liquidation price. So it looks at how much money I have on my account, and it says, okay, well, if Bitcoin falls below this level, your whole account will get liquidated on this Bitcoin futures. So it's a pretty low risk trade here. And then I just click confirm, and then you will see your position over here. And then you can see how much you have long, which is 10 long. the P&L, which is the profit and loss. We discussed this in a previous video. And then if you want to short the market, of course, it's exactly the same thing. Let's say I want to now short. Well, in fact, if I put my 10 contracts here, this will just close my previous long. But again, it's a similar concept. I press the short button. It gives me all the information that I showed before. I click confirm, and now you can see my long has actually been liquidated. But of course, maybe you want to just go short. You don't want to just cover your longs. Then, of course, you just enter the amount of short position that you want. And that's how it works. So please be very careful with leverage trading. Of course, it does involve high risks. But the AAX exchange seems pretty solid. You can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Comp they have now as well, and Link. And they have some of the best rates for futures in the market. So yeah, go check them out. And if you use our link in the description below, you'll also get a discount on the trading fees for the first few months. All right, guys, so I said I was going to talk about Ethereum, and interestingly, Ethereum is still looking pretty bullish compared to Bitcoin. So yesterday we talked about this important $390 level, and that is still quite important. We might still hold that and close above this. This is the level that we've sort of closed at several times on the weekly. If we don't hold that, the next important level is the $360 level. But the fact of the matter is that if you compare the ETH USDT chart to the Bitcoin chart, we've basically had a big leg up here, and now we've been consolidating a lot, right? But with Bitcoin, we had this move up, we consolidated, and then we dumped, right? So it's a very different market structure, and it's sort of impressive to see how Ethereum is holding against Bitcoin. That being said, if you look at the ETH BTC chart, you can see that we have this general resistance zone between the 0.037 and the 0.042 level. And we do right now have a candle, still has almost 3 days to go. Anything can change within those 3 days. But admittedly, this is a resistance zone, and it is possible that ETH BTC will come down to test this previous support of 0.032. So overall, ETH is still looking stronger than Bitcoin. You can see that the ETH BTC chart is in a weekly uptrend, and we might come all the way down here even to this previous major support zone at the sort of 0.028 down to the 0.024 level. But I'm still very bullish on Ethereum. I have actually a bit more Ethereum than I have Bitcoin right now. And I think there's more good things to come for Ethereum. All right, guys, before I go, we also have a promotion here for you guys. If you sign up using our link, you get $10 for free just for trading $100 worth of crypto on Binance. And of course, if you sign up to get a debit card for Crypto.com, you get $50 on the house from us. So check that out, guys. Crypto.com, really solid company there, really solid project. All right, guys, but that's been it from me for today. Let me know what you thought of the analysis. I hope you're not sort of despairing at whatever losses you've made on your portfolio. Really try and think about this for the long term. So again, watch this interview which Shash did with Heidi and Toby from Crypto Tips. He really gives a good perspective on what you need to do to survive in this market. All right, it's not about just maximizing the gains in the short term. It's really about surviving, because you'll get hit hard in this market, and if you don't know how to deal with it, you will potentially sell at the absolute worst time possible. All right. So yeah, guys, with that being said, I will see you in the next one.